Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. How is everyone doing this fabulous Saturday afternoon? I figured while I was getting ready, we can kind of go over some business tips. So how is everyone doing this fabulous Saturday afternoon? So, I guess to start things off, I wanted to kind of go over a couple of structure things that I think are kind of important because I've been, last week and I was at a couple conferences speaking on business structure, and I was at a group home conference and I was at a retail and spa conference. And so for my more established businesses, a common question or concern was having the same LLC if you have multiple locations. So if your business has expanded, you have multiple locations either in the same state, you have multiple locations in different states, you want to make sure for asset protection reasons that each location that you have is its own separate entity. Well, why I gotta do all that? So I'll do the group home example. Let's just say I have Joyce Group Home, right? And I have expanded. I have 3 locations between Florida and Texas, but I'm running them all under Joyce Group Home LLC. Well, let's say that my location in Texas is my biggest location, right? That's the location that's paying not only all the business bills, but that's going to be the location where I'm paying my home bills from. That's the one that's giving me the most profit. Well, I have 2 more locations in Florida, but it's the same business, just a different location. I'm just going to run it under the same LLC. Well, the issue is that when you are running everything under one LLC, you're combining all of that liability. I don't even have a cup in here, y'all. I ain't got my cups in here. So if a patient were to slip and fall at my Houston location or my Texas location and break their neck, if I had a nurse administer the wrong medicine and one of my patients got sick, if I took one of my patients at my Texas group home, if we went on a field trip and my bus driver didn't do the correct count and they done left one of the passengers at the field trip excursion, which caused them to have an anxiety attack and a breakdown, well, they're going to be suing Joyce Group Home. The issue is Joyce Group Home has 3 locations. So the income from Joyce Group Home is all going in under one LLC. Yes, you may have different bank accounts. Let me get a cup. Hold on, y'all. Here we go. Yes, you may have different bank accounts for the different locations. So I got Joyce Group Home in Florida. She's the big one. And then I got Joyce Group Home in Texas. Well, it doesn't matter who's on the bank account. What matters is the name of the entity, right? So although I may have different bank accounts for the Florida and the Texas group home, it's all the same entity. So when the Texas group home sues, they're not just suing for the Texas profits, they're going to be able to touch the Texas and the Florida profits, right? We don't want that. So for that reason, each location that you have should be its own separate LLC. That way, if something were to happen, or when something happens, because something always happens in business, you're not going to lose the assets for all of the businesses or all of the locations. You'll only lose whatever that one location had. So whether you have multiple businesses, or whether you only have one business but multiple locations, each location or each business needs to always be its own LLC for asset protection reasons. You don't want an issue happening at location 1 being able to affect the cash flow at location 2 and vice versa. So when I left these conferences, that was the biggest structure mistake I saw the people doing. Those that were established in business, they are having multiple locations, but they're running it all under one LLC. And so we don't want that, because in business stuff happens, right? You're going to make a mistake because you're not perfect. Your employee's going to make a mistake because they're not perfect. You may have a contract dispute, right? You thought that the terms was A, B, C, and I thought they were D, E, F. And so now we're in litigation because we don't agree to the terms of the contract. Things happen. It's also grimy out here in these business streets, right? People are always trying to get over. So you're going to have some clients that may file a frivolous lawsuit, just, trying to get some money from you. So for that reason, you want to make sure that your business structure is correct. So when something happens, we're not going to lose everything. When something happens, we are going to minimize our risk. We're going to minimize our loss. There's no way to bulletproof yourself. Like there is no way to say, come hell or high waters, can't nobody touch nothing, right? But what we can do is we can minimize what our exposure is. We can minimize what is up for grabs. So if something were to happen and I was at fault, if something were to happen and my employee did make the mistake, if something happened and I was just out of order, right? I won't lose everything. So the whole point of asset protection, the whole point of having the proper business structure is so that when something happens, it's not gonna just take you out completely, right? You're gonna be sad, you're gonna be upset, the whole nine, but it's not gonna just take you out of business. So if you do have multiple locations, if you have multiple locations and your business, so at the group home conference, to be in a group home, you got to have, licenses, you got to have insurance, you got to have permits, you got to have all that good stuff. So if you have a license and you need that license to operate your business, a new entity is going to be a brand new person. Although you own the entity and you have another group home, it's still it's another person. It's a whole nother entity. So 9 out of 10 times you are going to have to get another license or permit. Now, I would say depending on your state, they may have some kind of grandfather clause where if the ownership of the entities, are the same, that you may be able to, use that same license. You would need to contact your state licensing board to see what is your state's rule on that, right? Every state is different. But if you start a new LLC, that's a whole new business. That's a whole new person. So that's going to be another EIN. That's going to be another business bank account. That's going to be another merchant system, POS system if you take credit cards. You can name it. You can either name it something general and get either an assumed name certificate or a fictitious name certificate, depending on your state. Some states may call it a DBA. So if I have Joy's Group Home for my location in Florida, I'm going to be doing business in Texas under the same name, but I can't use the same name. I can either have a generic LLC name, like J&J Enterprises, and then just get a DBA or a fictitious name or an assumed name certificate, depending on your state, which one they use, to be able to do business in Joy's Group Home. So just because your LLC name is one thing, you can do business in another name if you get the right paperwork, okay? So depending on your state, it's either going to be called an assumed name certificate or a fictitious name certificate, and then some states will call it a DBA. Not a DBA in your name, a DBA for the LLC. So you could form your second entity, have a generic name, and then use a assumed name, fictitious name certificate to still do business in Joy's Group Home. Or you can make your corporate name mirror what your original name was. So, like for my salon franchise, I used to have a salon franchise, and I have 5 locations in Houston, right? So the first one and the biggest one was Superweave Express, and then for each location, I just used the name and I put the location after it. So Superweave Express 1960, Superweave Express Humble, Superweave Express Gulfgate, Superweave Express Cypress, Superweave Express Shreveport, Superweave Express Beaumont, right? You can add whatever is going to be the street name, the city name, the whatever behind it. Those will be your 2 options, but you want to make sure that you have a separate LLC, a separate entity, so that when something goes wrong, we don't just lose everything. Besides having the proper business structure, I hate when I just lose my thought of mind. Besides having the correct business structure, forming the entity is the first part, right? So forming your LLC, forming your corporation, that's going to be the first part to establish your business structure. But I tell people all the time, forming it is just the first step. Now we have to run it like Walmart. So the LLC or your corporation, that's the first part of, separating the business from you, so that your personal assets won't be, are not going to be taken for business debt. But the second part of protecting your assets for your business structure is going to be what I like to call running it like it's Walmart. So running it like it's Walmart means, in simple terms, following the corporate formalities. So when you form your LLC, that's the first step, but you have to now run it like it's a real business. You have to now run it like it's Walmart. Well, what do you mean? Well, number one, is the CEO of Walmart, or is the owner of Walmart, do you think when they're going to go get a haircut, do you think when the owner of Walmart, when his wife's going to get her nails done, that she's pulling out the Walmart, the business debit card to pay for her nails to get done, to pay for her massages? No, right? So although you are you, and you also own this business, a lot of times we think, well, since I'm the owner and it's me, like it's the same person, I can just swipe this card for whatever it is I need to use the money for, because it's all my money. And, technically, yes, it is all your money because you're the owner, but an LLC is really a separate entity. So you may have control over the money, so you're thinking it's your money, but it's not. If I have money in Joy's group home, that's not Joy's money. That's Joy's group home money. I just happen to own the business, so I have control over the money. So when we start swiping our business bank account for personal expenses, we're not running our business like it's Walmart. And in legal jargon, that's called, we're not following the corporate formalities. We're not following the rules. Saying, hey, if you have an LLC, if you have a corporation, if you have a business entity, my light done went out. There are benefits that, that you will have. But in order to get those benefits, you have to really run your business like it's a real business. So if you're over here swiping the business credit card when you go outside this weekend at the hookah bar, if you are using your business credit card to get these lashes done, to buy your bundles, to pay for these dates, then you're not running it like it's Walmart. If you're not running it like it's Walmart, well, then you aren't going to be able to get the business benefits. Okay? So, what you want, baby, why did I do this, y'all? Why do I even do this? I don't even do pink. I'm gonna just try something new. And now I am looking real clownish. So forming our LLC is the first step. Now we need to run it like it's Walmart, or run it like a real business, or follow the corporate formalities, okay? So in following the corporate formalities, the first thing we need to do is, number one, we need to make sure that we are not commingling funds, that we aren't paying for personal expenses out the business account, and we're not paying for business expenses out your personal account. Well, how are they going to know what I'm doing? It's my business. No. Well, what's going to happen is when you get in a lawsuit, they're going to subpoena your bank records, because your attorney is going to say, oh, yeah, you're suing my client, but my client doesn't own anything. All of the assets are of the LLC, so you guys really can't get anything. Well, they don't want to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that I finally got to sue someone and I can't get anything. So they're going to say, well, prove it to me. Let me see if you really are, is it really a separate entity, or are you just playing house? Are you just plain business owner? Y'all think I'm making this worse? I think I'm making this worse. So we don't want to, be swiping the business account for personal expenses. So we want to run it like it's Walmart. The second thing we want to do to make sure that we get the corporate protections is we need to have either an operating agreement or bylaws. So if you have an LLC, you need to have a contract for the business. The contract for the business is going to be called an operating agreement. It's going to state the ownership. It's going to state how profits and distributions are supposed to be handled. It's really just a corporate formality if you're a single member LLC. Now, if you are a multi-member LLC, or if there is more than one owner of the LLC, not only is this agreement going to be like a corporate formality, it's also going to serve as like your partnership agreement. How is everything being divided? Who's putting what up? Blah, blah, blah. So you need to have an operating agreement. If you don't have an operating agreement, they're going to look at your business as not following the corporate formalities. And if you were to get sued, you're not going to have the protections of the LLC. Now, if you have a corporation, you're not going to have an operating agreement. You're going to have what's called bylaws. The bylaws are going to be the paperwork that states how the corporation is supposed to be ran. You're supposed to elect what's called a board of directors. The board of directors is who is going to be responsible for running the company and making decisions. So you want to have bylaws. Most states aren't going to require you to file your bylaws or file your operating agreement anywhere. It's more of a corporate formality. Now, some banks may require you to have your operating agreement or your bylaws to open up a business bank account. But no, you don't have to, get it notarized. No, you don't have to, file it anywhere for most states. You just need to keep this for your corporate records, okay? Because if you were to get sued, this is going to be the first document that the opposing counsel is going to be subpoenaing from you, okay? Now a corporation, hold on. If you need an operating agreement, I have a template on my website. Just type in the comments contract and a link will be sent to you. I am working on getting a template for, I have a lot of clients that now have a corporation, so I'm working on getting a template for bylaws. So give me till the end of the week for the bylaws. But if you need an operating agreement, then you want to comment contracts in the comments, and a link will be sent to you for an operating agreement. Okay. If you are a corporation, though, a corporation has to do a couple more things, right? Now, when I say a corporation, I'm talking to everyone who at the end of your business name is Inc., INC, or maybe you have the word corp, okay? If at the end of your business name is Inc., INC, or corp, I'm talking to you. Well, why am I saying all this? Well, an LLC is able to be taxed as what's called an S corp, okay? An S corp is not a business entity, meaning that you don't form an S corp. You just tell the IRS, hey IRS, I'm an LLC or I'm a C corp, and the LLC has to pay a 12.4 self-employment tax. A C corp has double taxation. So you're going to pay a tax when the business makes the money, and then you're going to pay a tax once the business pays the owner. So they have double taxation. So neither the C corp or the LLC have the best tax structure. So the IRS says, you know what? We will allow you to be taxed as a different type of entity. So if you are an S corp, but the last three letters of your business name is LLC, then you need an operating agreement, okay? So just because you're an S corp, that doesn't change your business structure. You're still an LLC, or you're still a C corp. So if you're an S corp, you want to look to see what are the last three letters in your business name. If your last three letters is either Inc. or Corp, then you want to make sure that you have bylaws. And then if the last three letters in your business name is going to be LLC, you want to make sure that you have an operating agreement. Okay? So we have our LLC, we have our we are not commingling business and personal funds. We are not paying business expenses. We're not paying personal expenses out of the business account. We have the proper contracts for our business. So we have either an operating agreement or we have our bylaws. And then the next thing you want to have to make sure that we keep our asset protection is going to be, you want to make sure that you have the proper licenses, permits, and insurance, okay? Now, if you're in an industry that requires some kind of license or permit, bond, insurance, you have to have that to operate, okay? A lot of times, people will make the mistake in they're going to get into a business that a friend of theirs is in, right? And so they're kind of depending on that friend for guidance. And you may say, well, you know what? In this book I read or in this course I took, they were saying I got to have a bond and I got to have a blah, blah, blah insurance policy. And your friend may say, oh, girl, you ain't got to do all that. I ain't got all that. You ain't got to do all that. We're not listening to Keisha and them, okay? We're not listening to nobody but the state. Because if something were to happen and you don't have the proper license, you don't have the proper permit, you don't have either the right insurance or the right amount, there is something called being underinsured, right? So depending on your industry, depending on the level of risk, depending on how much money your business is making or what kind of category your business is in, certain industries require a certain amount of insurance. It's not just, kind of get any kind of policy. You have to have a certain amount of insurance because they're saying the kind of business that you're doing or the kind of loss that can be experienced in this industry is X amount. So for that reason, you need to have a certain amount of insurance. For example, if anyone is following the Trump lawsuit, right? I'm not going to get into no politics on here. So if you like them, great. If you don't, great. But Trump was required to put up a $174 million bond to be able to stay out of jail. And so he got the bond. However, the company that he got the bond from, number one, isn't licensed to be able to write bonds in New York, where his criminal case is. And number two, the amount of I don't want to say the amount of money that the business is worth. I don't know what the proper terminology is. So if anyone on here is in the insurance industry, feel free to drop the correct word I'm looking for. But an insurance company has, I don't know what the proper terminology is, but they only got so much money in their business that if something were to happen, they can cut a check for, right? So whoever is this company that Trump used for his bond, they only can settle a debt or they only can write for $130 million. So if Trump has a $174 million bond, and that means if he doesn't show up to court, if he doesn't if he's not where he's supposed to be, the state of New York can revoke his bond and they will get paid. And the amount is based on how much is the alleged theft. So the district attorney just filed a motion saying, hey, although he posted this bond, this isn't the right bond. This company isn't even licensed to pay a bond or pay on a debt in New York. And even if they were, they only have $130 million to be able to cover, and the bond amount is $174. So your industry may say you need to have a bond, a certain license, and a permit. But it's not just having the bond, it's having the right bond and the right amount. It's not just having insurance, it's having the right kind of insurance and the right amount. So if you're in an industry that is regulated, meaning you're in an industry where you have to get some kind of license, some kind of permit, there is someone looking at you at the state or the federal level to make sure that you are crossing your T's and dotting your I's, you need to make sure that you have the right amount and the right kind of insurance or bond or permit. So we got to have our LLC, we got to have our separate bank account, We have to have the correct license and insurance. We got to make sure that whatever is the license, insurance, permit, whatever all that is, we got what we need. And then last but not least, we want to make sure that we have an active LLC. So forming your LLC is the first part, right? But most states require you to fill out and file either an annual report, or they're going to require an annual report and a fee, right? Yes, E&O, yes, errors and omissions is a type of insurance. Errors and omissions insurance is going to pay you, is going to pay the customer if you make a mistake. So, let me give an example. Maybe you're an insurance adjuster, right? Or you're an insurance. You are an insurance broker. You are an insurance agent, and you have a car dealership as a client, and they came to you and said, hey, we need insurance. And although you guys agreed that they were going to have insurance, number one, when you processed the paperwork, you actually made a mistake and you processed the wrong paperwork. So the dealer came to you for a garage policy. A garage policy will protect the cars on the lot. So you have a car dealership and you have 20 cars on the lot that you're trying to sell, and a hurricane happens, an earthquake happens. Because you own the cars, you're responsible for them. If something were to happen, you still want to get paid for your car. So if a hurricane happened, under the garage policy, the car dealership would get paid whatever was the value of that car that they lost in the hurricane that's on the lot. Now, if they're financing the car, the customer is responsible for the insurance, but a garage policy will protect the cars that are on the lot. Well, if I went to my insurance agency to get this garage policy, and he's saying garage policy, and we had an understanding of a garage policy, and on the receipt he said I paid for a garage policy, but he hired a new secretary, and the new secretary, on accident, she filled out the wrong form. So although I've had this insurance for blah, blah, blah amount of time, it's the wrong insurance, right? So now, let's say an earthquake happens. I'm not tripping because I know I have a garage policy and I'm protected for all the damage that's done to my cars, or the cars that I lost because of this policy. So when I walk into my insurance agent's office, like, hey, we had this earthquake, I lost these 4 cars, you can go ahead and file a claim, and he pulls the paperwork up and goes, oh my gosh, you don't have a garage policy. What do you mean I don't have a garage policy? I sat right here in front of you and no. He's going to say, oh my gosh, Joy, I made a mistake. My secretary made a mistake. She actually got you the wrong insurance. So now I'm not going to get paid for the cars that I got lost in the earthquake because the insurance company is going to say I didn't have the right insurance. But I have enough evidence to show that I did pay for the correct insurance. My insurance agent just made a mistake. So what errors and omission insurance does is, instead of me having to sue my insurance agent and make him pay for the car, since the reason I don't have the policy is because of his mistake, he will file a claim on his errors and omissions policy to pay me for his mistake. So, credit repair, a lot of times will require an errors and omissions policy. Insurance agents require errors and omissions policies. Transportation companies, like, what if you drop the load at the wrong place? So errors and omissions is a very popular insurance type. So, I got all the way off track. So you want to make sure you have the correct, I should do a red. You want to make sure that you have not just insurance, but you have the correct insurance and you have the correct amount of insurance. Because if you were to get sued and you don't have the policy, or you don't have the right amount, I'm not going to do pink. You don't have the right amount, it's going to be called piercing the corporate veil, or it's going to be, we're going to act like you didn't even have insurance, and we're going to, you're not going to have your protection of having an LLC because you weren't running it correctly, okay? So for business structure, it's not just forming the LLC. It's going to be forming the LLC and then running it correctly. So, if you have made any of those mistakes, if you think you made a mistake, if you want some clarification on, am I doing this thing right? You can type comment. You can type comment. You can type help in the chat, and a link will be sent to your DM to book a business structure call with me. You can type in structure in the comments. I have a 4-hour detailed webinar. I'm going over all of this as to, how to properly structure your business. So if anything that I'm talking about tonight, y'all like, you know what? I may need to revisit some things. Then you definitely want to get my Structure Your Business webinar. You just type in structure in the comments, and a link will be sent to your DM on how to get my Structure My Business webinar. Or you can click the link in the bio. But the biggest mistake is going to be number one, I formed my LLC. So now I'm good. But we're not doing all the other things to keep the protection of the LLC. And then the second common business structure mistake is going to be having too many businesses, too many locations, running too many things under one LLC. You want to break things up for asset protection reasons, because something is going to happen. You are going to make a mistake. Your employee will make a mistake. It's not if something happens, it's when something happens. You want to still be able to sleep at night. You want to be able to sleep at night. You don't want to be worried about, it's not even on. I gotta go. You don't want to be worried about, I'm going to lose my house, I'm going to lose my car, or I'm going to lose all the money in my main business, all because I had an accident happen at my other location. So for asset protection, right, you want to always think of like this. Like, you don't want your piggy bank, which will be your LLC or your assets, you don't want your piggy bank getting too big, right? You don't want one piggy bank being too big. Because if one piggy bank is too big and you get hit, you're going to lose everything in your piggy bank, okay? So for asset protection reasons, you want to make sure that we're not just piling everything that we're earning in one LLC. So if you want help on if you want me to kind of listen to what kind of business you have, what are you doing, what you got going on, what you plan on doing, and then for me to come up with a personalized game plan as to how you should, structure your business, structure your real estate, structure all what you got going on now, or you're about to do X, Y, and Z, then comment help in the comments, and a link will be sent for you to get on my calendar. You want to book a business structure call. It's going to be 30 minutes, and I will kind of, walk you through what is the best structure for you, okay? Because there's more than one way to. Don't type in structure, y'all. Type in help to get the link for the consultation. Structure for the webinar. If you want me to tell you, hear what you got going on personally, I look a mess. Type in help. See, your business structure is not like a one size fits all, right? There's more than one way to skin a cat. And so you want to make sure that you're doing what's best for you. Here's the analogy I always use, because everyone's going to hop on this call, right? And the first thing they're going to say is they need a trust, and the trust needs to hold the holding company, and then the holding company got to hold the parent. They're going to give me, everything that they done heard on YouTube, right? They're going to give me everything that they heard on Instagram. And nothing that they're saying is wrong. It's just, do you need that, right? So here's the analogy I always tell people. If I am a single woman, I don't have any kids, I don't really carpool or transport a lot of people anywhere. I don't have any kind of hobbies that requires me to transport anything big. I don't golf. I don't, what else can be big? I don't ski. I don't travel carrying a lot of bags, and I have no kids. I have no husband. It's just me. Do I need a Suburban? Do I need an SUV that can fit 7 people and gives me an extended cab so I have a full trunk space? Well, the people doing the advertisement for a Suburban or a Cadillac, Escalade, ESV, they're going to talk about how you can have 7 people travel with you, right? And you can have a full trunk. You can have, all 3 rows with people, and you have your complete trunk space. If I'm not transporting anyone, if I'm not carpooling with anyone, if I'm not always picking up my nephew and niece, if no one's in my car, and I personally don't travel with golf clubs and ski equipment, why do I need a car that seats 7 people and has a full trunk space? So yes, there's a benefit with a Suburban, but the question is going to be, am I reaping the benefit? Or if you go out and buy a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or any of these fast sports cars, right? It's going to have a blah, blah, blah engine, so many horsepower, and it's going to be able to go fast and this and that. But if I'm a girl, I don't know anything about cars, I'm not into name brands, I don't speed, I'm never going to race, I just want a car. Am I benefiting from having this Porsche, right? Am I getting the benefits? Well, maybe the Porsche wasn't a good example because you don't have to speed, but you can still like a nice car. So I'm going to just stick with my Suburban. If I'm single and I'm not transporting no one, I'm not reaping any of the benefits of the Suburban. But if I'm a mom, if I have maybe 2 kids in a car seat and a 3rd child that's not in a car seat, you don't want to keep having to, pull things back. If I'm single, but I'm an avid golfer, so I'm always, going to golf tournaments, and I got these clubs, or I'm a skier, so I got to transfer these skis, or if there's a reason for me to have a Suburban. So when it comes to your business structure, you want to make sure that you have the structure, not that sounded good on Instagram, not the structure that, you keep seeing on YouTube and all of this, if it's not going to benefit you. I just had a client, and he was adamant about setting up, he wanted all the information on the tax benefits of a trust, because someone told him that he could save taxes with a trust. And I said, well, a trust is not going to save you any tax, but an estate tax. And you won't have an estate tax unless you have, unless your assets upon your death are more than, I think if someone's on here who's an estate planning attorney, Feel free to chime in and tell me what the correct exemption amount is. But I want to say for 2024, the exemption amount is $13 million. So, meaning if you die today, you can die today and have $13 million worth of assets without paying an estate tax. But anything over $13 million, you're going to pay an estate tax, and the estate tax is 40%. So he's trying to, tell me why he needs to have all this stuff, and he doesn't even own a asset, right? Well, one day I will have an asset, and I'm like, well, I'll tell you whatever you want, baby. I'll tell you how to do it, but you don't need to be worried about an estate tax because you don't even have an asset. So you can do all this, but you're not going to reap any of the benefits. So I feel it's so important that when you're going to your business structure, do what's best for you. What needs do you have now? What needs are you going to have in the future? Do what's best for you now. Know how you need to set things up in the future. So when your business starts making money, I know I got to be an S Corp. When I start getting my assets, I know I need a holding company. So I always say, make sure that you personalize your business structure. There is no one size fits all, okay? Well, y'all, I am late with these rosy cheeks, but everyone have a great, I'm going to get my LLC kit this week. If you need my LLC kit, type in LLC kit in the comments and a link will be sent to you. Everyone have a fabulous Saturday, and I will post this live. So if y'all just, chimed in, y'all came in late, you can kind of hear all my examples on what are the common business structure mistakes. Have a good week, and I will, of course, see you at the bank.